Hello everybody, it is I, the silly one, back again for some more Battletech, continuing in the lovely vein of the Arsenal set review that we've been working on over the last few weeks. And as you can see from the little chart in front, we've done the missions, we've done the commands, we've nearly done the mechs, we just have the clan mechs to do, and we have the inner sphere vehicles to do. This stream is going to be clan mechs. And as I've kind of said, I felt that the clan got a real bum deal in Arsenal, and the 20 mechs for them versus the 5 for the inner sphere. But the inner sphere they get 25 vehicles, gives them 30 units to the clan's 20, and then when we add the battle armor in, that's 24 to 32. They basically get 8, so they get another 25, 30% additional, depending on how you want to do the maths. They get more by a number of choices. And bit of fun today, when I get hold of it, and I need to go and find it, I'm gonna do a little teaser at the end of this recording, just because I can. What's the point of a teaser if you can't tease people with it? So I'm gonna do a little teaser of something that's coming up at the end of it. So it's going to be worthwhile today. 20 mechs to go through. This is going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to do them all, and we're going to do them all justice, and we're going to look at them from a number of possibilities and angles and levels. Okie doke. So without further ado, we will start off. I've remembered to copy them all into my deck list, which means I can then search the rest of the cards to compare stuff, which is something I always forget to do, but today I seem to be having a good day. Maybe I've had a coffee too many, who's to say. But the first card up is I must admit, it does look quite chunky, kind of bloated Black Hawk S. Yes. What's going on with here? It does look a bit on the bloated side, doesn't it? It's a Black Horse S Nova. It's a mech. It's an anomaly. It's clan. It's generic, so you can put this in any of your clan decks. It costs a whopping 9 resources with a 2 assembly and 2 tactics buyout, which means it could cost you as much as 13 if those aren't in play. And it's a medium speed unit like all the Black Hawks. Okay, like all the other Black Hawks, it has the jump capability, and unlike its unfortunate, inept brother, the Black Hawk D, the wonderful Black Hawk D. Let's pull the Black Hawk D up. Where's the D? Where are we? Black. Oh, of course, I'm filtering on the Arsenal expansion. I want more than that. We want the Black Hawk. Oh dear. Has it not got the... Oh, I know why. Let's have a look. Here's the Black Hawk D Nova. 170, and it's got jump -1 attack +1 initiative. Oh dear, it can't even jump. Whereas the Black Hawk S can jump, and it has 8 attack to reduce, and an 8 attack for 9 resources is not bad going. It's not bad value for money. And then you take into account it has AP, because somewhere there's some machine guns on it, although they only list the 6 medium lasers, and it gets +1 damage to any target other than a mech, which is great because this 8 then becomes a 9. So you're doing 9 resources for 9 damage against the stockpile. That's pretty good value. Anything that's 1-to-1 or even better is got to be worth looking at. And then finally, the other ability it has is anti-missile, which probably not that great or not widely used, especially if you use league rules where it's only the mech that it applies to, whereas in proper Battletech it's every mech in the group, because that's what the ability says. So that's kind of useful, but you don't see that many missiles. And then finally, it's a 1/7 body, which is quite durable, and if you can get this out early game, 1/7 is quite difficult to deal with. We've seen that with the Wraith, we've seen that with the Huron Warriors, etc, etc, because it took in 8 damage, and literally most good units do 3. so you probably need 3 units to block it. And if it's dishing out 8, there's a good chance it's going to take 2 of them with it. Does it see play? Yes and no is the answer here. And the reason it does see play is its inept brother with a 2/3/8 buyout and the wonderful Omni Mech Pod cache. So the thing here is you play the D, you Omni Mech Pod cache it and put the S out, and you've got a deck which I covered a while back called Smash Hawk. There is Dash Hawk as well. They're variants on them, but both of them work on the Omni Mech Pod trick to effectively put your unit straight into the patrol region and attack with it. And Dash Hawk is pretty powerful, pretty strong. It performs pretty well, providing you can get your Omni Mech Pod cache in place and tick it off. So decent enough to build a deck around. Yeah, you know, a nice addition for Clan, that. The problem here is it's basically pigeonholing or supporting one particular deck archetype. You probably wouldn't run this in any other deck apart from that. Okay, the A&T buyouts are great, but at 9 cost in a competitive tournament format, it's never gonna hit the deck or the table unless you cheat it. Do something with it, like the Omnimech Pod cache, or you double overtime into it. Okay, general rule of thumb is anything that costs more than 5 is too expensive for a tournament. There's one good rule of thumb for you there. Okie dokie. Would you play it in draft? It's probably draftable. It's maybe a bit expensive for draft. Draft, that 5 cost probably gets closer to 7 or 8, maybe. And it would depend on what else is in your deck. But a moderate speed and 8 damage make it definitely worth considering for draft. Okie dokie. Next up, we have the Black Lanner A from the green budgie and a floppy disk symbol clan Jade Falcon. It's an Omni again, and the reason Omni is important is remember that the battle armor was released in this group, and they ride on Omnis. So for those of you that are thinking, oh, I'll stick a battle armor on a Peregrine, doesn't work. Or your Jenna 2C. Does it work on the Peregrine? Peregrine, does it work? Yeah, it doesn't work on the Peregrine because he's not an Omni. Neither does it work with the little Jenna 2C. Here's our Jenna 2C, not an Omni, so our battle armor don't work with it. Whereas this Black Lanner A, it does. And the crazy thing here is this unit has ECM, and that gives ECM to all of those battle armor, making them 5 cost to kill, which is really awkward. Whereas at 4 cost they can get hunted. So this is a pretty decent mech, to be fair. It only has A&T buyouts on a 7 cost, which is probably a little pricey for competitive play. It has a PPC. I'm assuming it should be an ER PPC, and it should possibly have long range if we're looking at continuity and everything else across the sets, but that's how they designed it. And it has ECM, as I said. It's a 1/7 body, which is, again, really awkward to get rid of. And then you put ECM on that, which makes it 2/7. And it's durable and a pain in the ass to get rid of. And if you put something on it like a Star Commander, you can't put you could put Star Commander on there. Why would you put Star Commander on there? Let's just have a look at Star Commander. Just for reference, Star Commander allows you to reroll any dice and gives you +1 initiative and +2 attack, which takes its attack to 7, which is very good. Why would you put a Star Commander on there? Because it's Jade Falcon and you want to run Steel Talons with it. 7 damage, unblocked potentially, or you can remove a mech from battle, is very strong. I remember playing my Steel Viper Deep Lake deck against this, and my opponent used Steel Talons to remove their Black Lanner from the battle to keep it alive because they realised it was going to die, much as they like it. It's a bit pricey for a competitive tournament style deck. It's great in draft because it's fast, it's durable. ECM on everything else is great. 7 cost is playable in a drafted sealed format, and very often pops up because it is common on the rarity. So you often see this a lot in draft, and certainly in that format. How do you get rid of it? Because you need something to get rid of it. Trading into this is not nice. As 2/7, you need 9 damage. It's giving 5 back. It's probably got something with it, and it's probably got a pilot on it. It's a nightmare to get rid of. So decent enough unit. 7 cost is its downfall, effectively. Cauldronborn Prime, 6, 3A, 2M. Shame maybe about the munitions buyout here. The wonderful snotty 65-ton clan mech with absolutely everything on it that slaughters everything. I'm thinking of the other Cauldronborn, where it's literally got one of everything strapped to it. But it is a solid, chunky 275. Moderate speed, and because of the Gauss rifle, it gets long range too. The munitions make it particularly prohibitive to play in a tournament environment, but in a draft, this is a great unit for draft. It's moderate, it's durable, it's got long range too. It dishes out 5 damage. It works great with something like an unopposed or something like that. It hangs around, it blocks and survives, and if the other guy chumps, you can push up to 2 through. It's a decent, or should be considered as a decent or good or better draft unit. Certainly if you open a pack and get one of these, and again it's a clan common in draft, you'd be quite happy. You could put this in a deck and know that you're going to get pretty good value for money. Okay. Next up, the wonderful Daishi S. A massive 15 to put this into play if you don't have to pay the 4A, 4L, 4M buyouts, which means potentially it could cost you 27. This would have gone into the Smoke Jaguar unbuildable Daishi deck quite happily, because it's very hard to get it to play. Again, it's mech, it's Omni, it's clan, it's Smoke Jag, it's slow, and it's a 4-11-11. Yes, it's very durable. Yes, it dishes out loads of pain. It's got Alpha Strike, it's got AP on top of that, so you can get 15 out of this going to the stockpile. If you unopposed it, you can get another 11, the base damage. You can get 26 to the stockpile with this. The trouble is you've got to get it on the table, and it costs way too much. It probably costs 3 times what you would suggest was a good value for a tournament worthy deck, and you would probably spend a large number of your turns in draft getting this onto the table, and it would probably just arrive just as you were about to lose. If you're going to use this somehow, you need to trick it into play. Probably something like Diamond Wheels, maybe a merchant cast where you've got some way of paying A and M, but largely from that point of view, it's probably unplayable, probably binder food, unless you can come up with a really good strategy for it. I don't think I've ever put one in a deck other than the unbuildable Daishi deck in a worst deck tournament, and I don't think I've ever seen one on the table otherwise. Fire Falcon A. I quite like this. I like the picture. The picture is much better when you see the original picture, and you've got a lot more detail on the head of the Fire Falcon coming at you. 1 cost is pretty good for 0-4 and 2 damage. It blocks a dasher and survives. And 1 cost puts it kind of in mongoose territory. If you remember the mongoose, nice little the wonderful Inner Sphere Everything, a 132, which was the Dasher, Stopper and Survivor from the original game, which then got converted to Comstar. Fire Falcon is arguably comparable to that, although it's not 1-3, it's 0-4, so it takes a bit more damage, it's not quite as durable, and from that point, Rocky Gorge or other terrains, Rocky Gorge particularly in this one, if we put the Gorge in play, which does 2 damage to it, actually hurts it more because it does 2 damage, and obviously one of those bounces off the Mongoose armor. Yes, I know that isn't how it happens in real life. It's not even a real life. It's a fictional real life. It's a card game. It's the mechanics. Okie dokie. So that to that extent, it's quite good. The big problem with it, it's well statted. It's fast as well. It's Jade Falcon. That's quite nice with a keyword, especially when you've got Martha from Crusade that gets boosted by every card with the Jade Falcon keyword on it. That's really good. The problem is it's 2M. And that's a real bugger, because that gets in the way of synergy with a lot of other Clan and Jade Falcon cards. However, I would point out that you can use it in a strategic bombardment deck, which is a straight 3/4M command. So this is a generic card. 4 armor, 1 structure, 2 damage. Choose a resourcing card in play, tap your strategic bombardment and do 2 damage to it. So if you're looking for a fast blocker for a strategic bombardment deck, then I would suggest that Fire Falcon A is possibly worth a bit of thought. There is some synergy there, basic munitions buyouts. The only issue is if you're actually physically going to get hold of one, they are rare. Which makes them a little awkward. It has a bigger brother in Fire Falcon C with 0-4 armor and structure again, and also fast, but it has 4 damage on it for 4 cost, which is pretty decent. And on top of that, you get AP, anti-personnel, which means this deals damage and additional damage to any target other than a mech. Which is quite nice. Certainly getting one of these through to the stockpile is going to hurt. It's going to do 5. Add an unopposed to it. It does 9, which in a draft game is quite considerable. And it's fast. The problem with this at 4 cost is it probably dies too quickly for 4 resources. You probably want it to hang around. Yes, it dishes out some pain at 4 damage, but unless that kills something, you're not trading fairly. And this is too easy to kill off, especially if you've invested 4 resources in it. Whereas the A, which is 1 cost for 2 damage, much better deal, you don't mind if that dies. You've only paid 1 for it. Putting this on the table and it going squidge quite quickly is its weakness. Certainly that armor structure is a bit of a problem. Again, it's also Jade Falcon. So this is great when there's nothing that's going to hurt it. So Rocky Gorge is going to kill it. Blockers are going to kill it. Clan Fasts are going to get in the way. They're probably going to die, but they're probably going to take this with it. It is a bit of a glass cannon type affair. And even worse than that, we have the Fire Falcon Prime, which is still 0-4, 5 damage with overheat 1+1, so you can get 6 out of it. It's 5 plus 1A and 1T, and again, it suffers from the same problem. You're paying 5 for something that only dies to 4 damage. Yeah, you get 5 damage out of it, you get 6 damage out of it if you want. Trouble is that you're paying an awful lot of money for for a decent amount of bang. It doesn't survive long enough. Too easy to kill them off. These are quite good with elementals if you can get them through, and it's kind of, the deck is kind of win more. They're great at dealing damage to the stockpile, but at that point your opponent hasn't got any blockers, and at that point you're probably winning the game anyway. Potentially it's too easy to kill them off. Grendel D, The stepping out, the great footwear at the front there, Mech Omni Clan Smoke Jag. Nice to see that Smoke Jags get some fasts, even if it's a 6 cost one, and 4A, 4T is pretty heavy on the buyouts. But a 164, it's nice and durable. It's 1/6 like its brothers in the Grendel category. 4 isn't particularly good when it comes to damage, paying 6 for it, but it does overheat for an additional 2, so you can get 6 out of this, and it's got jump in there. It's probably just a little too expensive for most decks, but in draft, as it's a common, then that's a pretty durable, fast unit that you can get 6 damage out of. Certainly if that was in my drafting pool or my set of cards, I would definitely be considering it. 6 is playable in draft. You can get that on the table and it's going to have a fair bit of an effect. I think maybe most people would prefer the Black Lana for the extra damage and the ECM, but the the Grendel is a quite viable alternative in that respect. Obviously, you can only play what you have. Okay. The Grizzly. 297. 7 damage out of a Grizzly makes this quite an attractive Ghost Bear Mech clan. Note that it's not an Omni. No elementals riding with this one. And it's slow, which means it'll get picked off. The advantage here is that at 7 damage, it's likely to kill at least one of something that's going to attack it. And 7 damage for 8 resources isn't a bad deal. 4A and 4T make it quite awkward if you haven't got the correct assets in play. But it does have jump. And it is Ghost Bear, where you have a lot of those dragonflies. So an AT deck it's got synergy with. That kind of jumping theme. Maybe you could go ALT and play with some elementals, and this is your big boy. And it's got 2 long range as well. Would you play it over the Takina C? 3, 11, 8. So it does 1 more damage. It's got AP and Alpha 2. So would you play 12 for this, or would you play 8 for your Grizzly? It's an interesting question. I suspect in most formats you would probably pay 8 for your Grizzly, but then the Takina has no buyouts at a straight 12. They both jump. This is Falcon as opposed to Ghost Bear. You're never going to put 6 of these in a deck. You might put a couple in a deck as your big mechs. I think with A and T buyouts, then there's potential to run this in draft if you can get your resources down. If you want a decent mech to go over to the other side, then your Grizzly will do a reasonable job. And as I said, 8 cost, 7 damage. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Yes. The Kodiak. This is an iconic mech clan Ghost Bear, not Omni. 15 resources to get out, which make it into the same category as Daishi S. A, L, and M buyouts. You think, well, if the M wasn't there, I might have one of these in a big Dragonfly Elementally type deck. 311 is pretty durable on the armor and structure. It does a paltry 7 damage, and although 7 damage is nothing to be sneezed at, it costs you 15 for 7 damage. And then you look at the options, it overheats 7 plus 7, so you can get 14 out of it, but it does 7 to itself, which means it's only got 7 structure left afterwards, which is quite easy to achieve if you're going to pick on it. And alpha in it for another 3 means that you can get 17 damage out of this if you can get it on the table. And it's a big hulking thing. It's way too slow for any games. It's even awkward to try and cheat this into play with L and M. and it was widely regarded as a right mess in that respect. It's quite awkward to play with. Linebacker C. Supporting the blue colour theme that one or two of the Phantoms picked up on. It's a mech, it's Omni, it's Clan, it's Wolf, it's moderate speed, and it has an overheat 1+1, so it does an additional damage on top of the 5 base damage if you overheat for 1, and it has an armor and structure of 2 and 8, which make it quite reasonably durable for a medium speed unit. It's a 7 attack for 6 damage if you overheat, which could be a little better, but the buyouts of A and T are quite useful. It's a bit too expensive for most constructed decks. It's probably playable in a draft environment. It's just you feel a bit aggrieved when you're paying 7 resources for 5 attack. And let me clarify that, because there will be loads of people that say, oh, you just said Black Lanner's faster, Black Lanner's better. Yeah, it's effectively a 275, the Black Lanner for 7. The linebacker is a 2-8, so you get 1 more structure, 5, for a 7 cost. Okay. But this is moderate, not fast. Okay. ECM can be given to other units, and this has overheat 1+1 if you want to bump it up. Most people, even though this is common, would probably take the fast speed of the Black Lanner over the medium or moderate speed of the linebacker. Maybe the Grendel D is more of an interesting compromise. 1 less damage, but you can bump that with overheat. In fact, they both do 6 with overheat. It's just this is a 1/6 fast for 6, and this is a 2/8 moderate for 7. I think you'd probably prefer the fast. So there's nothing wrong with this. It just feels that there are better units potentially. You know, it's an average unit at best. It doesn't stick out. Talking of not average units, we have Mad Cat Pride, and this is probably one of the reasons why any Clan player who bought Arsenal was crying. And maybe it's just the way the mech is configured, but it's 11, 2A, 2M, 2T. It's a moderate Mad Cat. It's a 2/9 as per all the other Mad Cats, but for 11 damage, it's got a base attack of 3, and that's pretty poor. I'm paying 11 resources to do 3 damage. I'm paying 3 resources for 1 damage. It's not quite as bad as that because it's got overheat 4+3, which means you can get that attack up to 7. But you are doing 4 damage to yourself, which basically turns this into a 0/7/7, which is practically the same as our Kodiak when it overheats. And Missile 3 arguably gives it 3 damage, the average roll of a missile being 1 damage in total. But you're paying a horrendous amount of money for not a great deal of reliability or even damage for it. And much as people love it and like it, and on the tabletop, I'm sure there'll be loads of people that play it and think it's great. In the card game, it just doesn't cut it. The buyouts are wrong. It's too expensive, and the output, i.e. damage and other things, just don't compare. And this is Aiden Pride's mech. Nice job, guys. Why they didn't do something to it, turn the missiles into damage, give it a fear factor, the intimidating paint job -1 to this, I don't know. It's not unique though, so maybe they should have turned it into unique. I don't know. Possibly not. But you still wouldn't put 6 in a deck if you had them, because you wouldn't put 1 in a deck because it's that bad when it comes to the numbers. Mad Cats, we have the S variant here. Again, it's a moderate, it's wolf only. Like the Pride, is a 2/9. And the crazy thing here is this costs one less. Here we go, look, it's a 10, 4A, 4L, 4M. So if we just pay the buyouts, it costs 10. I'm getting 8 damage with 1 overheat and jump. Okay, this costs 11. I'm getting 3 damage. Okay, I can overheat for another 3 and another missile, which is arguably another 3. But that's all very situational, and I've got to hurt myself to overheat. If you can redline it, great. But this version with the 8 damage is so much more reliable. That's not saying it should be played. I'm just trying to emphasize how bad the implementation of Mad Cat Pride is. This doesn't get played because 4A, 4L, and 4M are prohibitive buyouts. 10 damage for 10 resources for 8 damage is okay. Generally, you like the ratio to be 1-to-1 or higher. And the overheat helps and the jump helps. But at 10 cost, it's still way too expensive without building a deck around it. And there just aren't those. Nightjar C, a similar kind of thing. This is slow, whereas the other two are moderate. It's a 298 for 9, whereas the Mad Cat S is a 298 moderate overheat 1+1 for 10. And you think, well, which is the better? This is slow. And you think, well, actually, the Mad Cat is probably better value for money over the Night Gyre. The Night Gyre has better buyouts. 9 cost for 8 damage, with only an arm assembly and tactics buyouts. That's not too bad. You could arguably build a deck around it, but you're only going to have 1 or 2 of these in the deck because they're so expensive. 8 damage, 9 cost is okay. Jump, long range 2, nice. Jade Falcon, Smoke Jaguar. It's still Omni as well, so you can elemental point with it. But it's slow. And it's probably slow to get on the table at 9 cost. Next up, we have the Nobunori Nin C. An 8 cost, 2A, 2M, 2 tactics buyout. Omni Clan Mech, which is quite nice. It's a 1/7 moderate, so it's kind of up there with our Black Hawk S. It has 5 base damage, overheat 1+1, missile 2, jump. So overheat 1+1 turns it into a 0.76, and missile 2, you can say that gives us 6, 7, 8. So this is an 8 cost 0.78, effectively with jump. And then you compare it to the Black Hawk, where for 1 more you get another damage and you're not overheating yourself, and it's moderate. The problem here is the buyouts and its smaller brother, the Nobunori Nin. Is it Prime or is it B? I can't remember. The other one, where is it? The A, 176 jump for 6, feels a lot better. 176 jump for 6 versus 175 overheat 1 for 8 AMT. It just doesn't feel as nice. It's too expensive, and it's not as durable. And if you're going to go that route, you probably just go straight for the Black Hawk S. Pouncer D. As per all the other Pouncers, which are Omni, Clan, and Wolf, it has 1 armor, 5 structure, and that's what really hurts these Pouncers. Yes, it's got 6 damage associated with it, and you can overheat it for another 4, making a grand 10. 8 cost, 4A, 4M, 4T. 8 cost for 6 damage, doesn't quite feel good. Overheat, you can probably overheat it twice before it blows itself to pieces to get 10 out of it. But in reality, at 8 cost, would you rather have the Nobunori C? Would you rather have your linebacker at 2.8 instead of a 1/5. This can get picked off by 2 dashers, and it will kill them. But you're paying 4 resources to kill something that's worth 8. It's very expensive for what it is. The buyouts are prohibitive. I doubt it makes a deck. I doubt. Would you play it in draft? Maybe. There's probably much better units for draft than this. You would probably put it on the table and overheat it and sacrifice it to kill something, which is a lot to do with 8 resources. So I'm not sure it makes the cut. I've never seen it played. Shadowcat A. Okay, so this is the first unit that features the Steel Viper keyword. You can see it, Mech, Omni Clan, Smoke Jag, Steel Viper. First Steel Viper unit made. There is another one, Shadowcat B, but as this is alphabetical and A comes first, it gets the top spot. Very interestingly, it's 5 resources with a 2 tactics buyout, which make that quite nice. You're paying 5 resources for 5 damage. That's pretty good value. It's a 1/6, which is reasonably durable and moderate, especially for a 5 cost. And it jumps. So that's nice. Comparable to that, is it Pouncer C? It is Pouncer C. And I can't spell. So if you look at Pouncer C, it's a 1/5/5 jumper, 4A, 4M. That's quite heavy buyouts. Shadowcat's got a tactics buyout. You're probably going to want to put a Star Commander on this and risky combat jump it a bit, which is why that works really, really well. The resource buyout of just tactics is nice. It links with the theme of the types of deck or types of card that you're going to run with it. Star Commander wanting tactics buyout being a pilot, risky combat jump requiring you to have initiative in play, although I know you can jump it, and that would give it a good boost and bonus. And just having a single buyout of just tactics is nice. It's not multi-clan buyouts of A, L and M or A, M and T, and that is quite a boon. If you got this in a draft pack, you'd probably be reasonably happy. It's better when you've got the cards that work with it. As I said, Star Commander, Risky Combat Jump, amongst others. But it's pretty decent at that point. And it works well with the A&T Battle Cobras that came out in Crusade, and also things like Coup de Grace, the Steel Viper mission that everyone forgets because they're all obsessed with Vipers more. But Coup de Grace works really well with this because 5 damage you are likely to do structure and get over most of the armor. So that's nice. Shadowcat B is the missile variant. It's a 1/6/3 with missile 3 and ECM. The ECM is quite nice, making it a 2/6/3 effectively. But at 7 cost with A, M and T and missile 3, it doesn't see play. It's a very expensive missile boat. Okay, 2/6 is nothing to be shouted at, and 3 missiles is quite nice. But at 7 cost, it's up against the Ryokan, the D variant, which is a 2/7/1 missile 3, Narc. And the Narc ability for 6 versus the couple of extra damage on this for ECM. This is 2/6, whereas the Ryokan's effectively 2/7. The Ryokan costs 1 less, and you can missile rack both of them. And you think, well, do I pay this AMT or do I pay the Ryokan with a 6/3A and generally and Narc built in? And you think, well, the Ryokan is probably the better value for money. Okie dokie. Next up, 4M. I quite like the picture on this. It's a bit different. The Thor, like all the Thor M, like all the other Thors, is a 2/6 armor structure unit. This one has 6 damage with jump and long range 1 because of the PPCs. Although some of the other cards we've seen here have PPCs and don't get the long range 1. It's a 6, 3A, 3L, 3T buyout. And people quite like this because it's Jade Falcon, but it runs into that kind of Jade Falcon elemental deck. Probably needing A for most units, L for the elementals, T for the tactics. So the buyouts are quite nice, but I feel that kind of suckers you a little. You're thinking I'm playing A, L, and T. And if you look at the Ghost Bear variant and the one that was run by Knight's End, okay, maybe not the best version ever, but it runs a lot of A and a lot of L and only a little bit of T, because you've still got jump. All your elementals jump. You want L for the elementals. You want A for the other units you're bringing. And I feel that this suckers you into thinking, oh, that fits well. And maybe it does fit well. If you've got an A, L, and T deck. It jumps, which is quite nice. When you compare it to my Nobunori Nin, the 176 A, which is a 176 jumper, whereas this is a 2/7, so 8 to kill it 6, then the numbers are the same, effectively. The Nin has 6 attack and jump. The Thor has 6 attack and jump. The Thor gets long range 1, but it has A, L, and M buyouts, whereas my Nin is just A and T. I just feel that the L kind of drags you down a path with this that you're not sure whether you should go down it. Maybe there are other units that are in the medium category that are better. Shadowcat for 5 or 165, whereas your Thor is 1/6, so it's 1 armor extra, 1 extra damage for an extra 1, but you're paying A, L, and T buyouts instead of tactics. I've seen a game where someone ran these and their opening hand was literally Think Tank, War Funds, Steel Talons, Thor M. And it's quite nice when you have all of those resources on the table and paying 6 for it. But when they are not on the table, it really hurts in this respect. So I think in the right deck, it's fine and it will perform well. I just think it leads you into the things that you probably don't want to be getting into. I think jumping elemental decks are primarily A and L, and the 3T buyout on this hurts it. Certainly potential to run not a lot of T in an A and L deck. I think Knight's End didn't even run T. I think he just ran 3 Think Tanks for flexibility, and having to scrap a Think Tank for tactics just to play this at 6 cost and moderate feels bad. Finally, the Ulla S. Interesting little mech. 3, but with M and T buyouts. Mech, Omni, Clan, Jade, Falcon. It's good value for money in the respect that it's 3 resources and it deals 5 damage with jump jets, which is quite nice. The Achilles heel is a bit like the Fire Falcons. It's a 0/4. It's interesting to compare this at 0/4/5 jump with the Fire Falcon 0/4/5 overheat and 0/4/4 AP1, and the difference that a speed category makes. Speed category definitely puts +1 on the price of a mech, possibly even a bit more than that. The problem here is that a lot of the M and T units that you get, not necessarily this Grendel up here, but if we look at the other Grendels, Then you have, and where are we? Here we go. Grendel B is munitions buyout. It's a 165 jumper. Grendel C, munitions and tactics buyout, 162 alpha jump. It kind of fits in with that, but there's Smoke Jag, and this is Jade Falcon. You could argue that you could run it with every other Uller that you own. Prime 044, A 044, B 043 Alpha 2, C. They put everything onto the C. I do love the fact that everything else is 04, and then the C they make a 13. I think the D's are, the D's are 13 as well. So what's going on there? I don't understand that. The 132 ECM AP anti-missile with 2A, 1A, the complicated Uller, shall we call that? And then this is basically the missile Uller. The B isn't Jade Falcon, whereas the A is, and the Prime isn't. So they made a right mess of the Ullers. But you could run a total deck of Ullers, an AMT Uller deck, and you could play something like what's the terrain? Difficult terrain, isn't it? The first terrain, which basically slows everything down, so it means anybody attacking you from fast could be blocked by your Ullers. So you could go with quite an aggressive Uller deck, doing 4 damage. Maybe put something like pushing the envelopes in there to get them up to 7, so whatever tries to pick them off they kill, and you've got quite a reasonable deck which deals a lot of damage, because most of the Ullers are 2 cost and you're getting 4 and 5 damage out of them, and this could quite happily fit into that kind of thing, because you're playing an AMT kind of medium Uller swarm, for better of a phrase. Certainly in draft you would say 3 attack for 5 damage. You're more likely to run 3 assets in that respect. You get quite a bit of bang for your buck, and jumping makes it quite reasonable for risky. If you can get it through to the stockpile with an unopposed, 10 off that's a big hit. That's quite nice. If you can superior nav it and attack again and untap, that's another 4 and another attack, so you can get up to 14 out of that in one go. That's quite nasty. And to that extent, you get quite a bit of bang for your buck. I haven't really seen it in any competitive decks or anything else, but it's definitely something that kind of punches at least at its own weight, if not a little bit above it. And potentially you have the opportunity to trade favourably, i.e. my 3-cost unit trades for your 6-cost unit, and they both get scrapped, but I feel better off because I've only paid 3 for mine. So there is the potential there for this to trade reasonably well. So one more thing I wanted to do, if I can find how to do this. In fact, I don't need to find how to do this. I need to change to something else. Let me just try this. No, I don't want that. I want something else. Let me go and do that. And then I can do my little reveal. If I can find my little reveal. And now, where are we? I think I was going to go with this one. There you go. Can I zoom this? I think I can zoom this a bit. Oops. There you go. there's my teaser. And without further ado, I will wish you all a very good rest of your day. Enjoy. Take care.